as I mentioned, fair warning, I'm starting the recording right now. So we will be recording this meeting for those who are unable to attend. And I have a couple of folks online that participated in the bargaining of this agreement who, if anyone is on the phone or participated, please alert me. Right now I see Robin online, and our folks who are attending continues to climb. We started just 20 and now we're at 74. So please be aware, this will be recorded. I'm going to be sharing my screen in a short while so we can all review the document together. And there's going to be plenty of time to ask personal or generic questions. Because we have more than 50 people on the call, I ask that you put your texts and questions in chat. Please make it available to everybody. If you privately message me, I will still respond and I will try to make it generic, but for everybody's benefit, it's very helpful if everyone can see the question that's being asked. We may even have the ability to have folks unmute themselves. That's a privilege you all have. Usually it gets a little unruly with more than 50 people, but we've seen as always a good group. I'm sure we'll be able to manage ourselves appropriately. I'd like to start off with introductions. Hello and welcome. My name is Zeb Feldman, CEMA OE3 Senior Business Rep, and one of the bargainers on the Visib. I see Robin, you are on the call. Could you introduce yourself, please?
Good morning, everybody. My name is Robin Rivas Romano. I am a CEMA member at large and will be again for the next couple of years. And I was on this bargaining team as well.
Great, thank you, Robin. I'm scrolling through the participant list and I'm not seeing any other board members at the moment. If there is someone who was on the negotiation team, could you please unmute yourself and introduce yourself? I realize I said yourself twice. I'll just give a couple. Oh, I see Mary Beth just hopped on. Mary Beth, could you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, I'm Mary Beth Rogers. I work with DFCS and Social Services, and I am an incoming board member at large, and I'll be starting in January.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Mary Beth, and welcome. And just so you all know, lots of folks participated in this bargaining. We had not only our executive board and business reps, myself and Adam Cole, but we also had some experts from budget analysis and also from the assessor's office and from the finance agency. So that was very helpful as well. So thank you to those folks that participated and helped us cost things out and also just kind of knew some of the history of the county. All right, well, wonderful. As I mentioned, everyone can unmute themselves. For those that are joining, we have had another 50 join since we started. Please post comments to everybody in chat so we can review them. As the cases come up, I will be able to refer to you specifically and say, hey, please restate your question, or there might be something everyone can unmute themselves. For those that are calling on the phone and are unfamiliar with Zoom, *6 unmutes you and remutes you if you are calling in on the phone. All right, well, let's go ahead and get started with the VSIP program. What I'd like to do, in fact, I'll just post this here, is I'll put agreement review. And then questions will follow. So hopefully most of you are familiar with the agreement review. I know that Dr. Smith and Miguel did an overview on Wednesday. This is going to be a little bit more from the union perspective and also specific to our agreement. While the agreements between the various bargaining units are very similar, they do differ slightly in some areas of implementation, which we'll cover. They're not substantive differences though, just so you all know. All right, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we'll go through the agreement. Hopefully everybody can see this. Can just one person type yes in chat if you can? I've got the side letter here displayed. Thank you. I see a couple folks saying yes, perfect. Thank you, Claire and Cheryl. Displayed on my screen, you're going to see the actual body of the agreement. Also, what I'm going to do is post this in chat just in case you want to review it yourself or you haven't been able to save it for whatever reason in the past. So you're going to see that here in chat. Give me just 1 second. All right, there it is. Everyone should be able to download it. It's a PDF document from chat. Okay, so what I'm going to do is go through a couple of basic overviews of the document, and then we'll just launch right into the contract language. So first off, the VSIP, or I'm going to call it VSIP, VSIP, Voluntary Separation Incentive Program, was designed to just that, incentivize people to depart from the county. This is in the context of the pretty significant budgetary crisis we're facing right now, which is approximately $300 million. And that represents anywhere between 1,600 and 1,800 positions from the county if we're purely taking them out of positions. We realize there are many other expenses, right? Contracts, object to things that we can reduce, but just so you have a sense of how much 300 million is, it's between 1,600 and 1,800 positions. So there certainly is a need for the county to shed positions. We took very seriously on the negotiation team the input from you all, which was that you wanted to see a years of service offering, and we tried to get that, but we were not able to. That doesn't mean, I don't want to get people's hopes up, but it doesn't mean that there won't be future VSIP offerings. But this particular VSIP offering is narrow in focus, and it is being done at a time where the county can afford to offer it. The county's not obligated to offer these kinds of incentives, and they may simply proceed into the layoff procedures. So it's certainly a benefit that everyone is getting that chooses to take advantage of it. And it's a benefit to everyone in an abstract sense, because whatever number of people take advantage of this, it means that there's that much more savings, which means that fewer mandatory reductions for everybody else. Anything, Mary Beth or Robin, that you wanted to add before I launch into the actual language here?
One of the things that Jeff made clear at the meeting on, well, one of the meetings that I attended a couple with Jeff at this point, was that he's of the opinion that this is likely to be the only time that there will be separation incentives offered, but he wasn't 100% absolutely clear that this would be the only time. But his feeling is that, you know, we're paying for this with savings in this fiscal year, and those savings there will be no money to do that with in the future after this offering. So
that's correct. That's certainly Dr. Smith's perspective. And, you know, he certainly is a powerful personality within the county. Also, he ultimately answers to the board, and the board is ultimately the controller of the budget. But what Mary Beth says is absolutely correct from an administrative perspective, that this is what we're looking at as being the singular option. Thank you for that clarification. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into it then. You can see what I'm going to do is highlight the particular sections that I'm going through. Right now, you can read this on your own. This is just explaining why the county is doing it and why we've agreed. So the first item, and this caused hundreds of confusing points, which Adam and I have answered, but I do want to speak to it now. 6 pay periods, approximately 3 months of base salary, or $20,000, whichever is greater upon separation in a lump sum. Okay, many folks will read this and instantly understand. Just for clarification, here's what this means on a concrete level, and I'm going to use $100,000 as an example. If you make $100,000, you will be paid approximately six pay periods worth of that, which will be approximately $25,000 or 25%, approximately. Why approximately? Because the pay periods don't work out to exactly that percentage number, right? So here's another confusing point, or $20,000, whichever is greater. This is a floor, not a ceiling. Almost every CEMA person can ignore the $20,000 minimum. It is a minimum. The average CEMA person is making $135,000 a year, well in excess of the $20,000. Let's pretend you're one of the few CEMA classifications that makes less than $80,000 a year. then this language would apply to you and you would get the minimum of 20,000. I want to reiterate that because there were hundreds of people that were confused on this. Almost everybody on this call will get significantly more than $20,000 if they choose to participate. And if you are one of the 3 very, very bottom paid classifications in CEMA, you would get 20,000. So don't worry, this is not a cap. If you were thinking, oh no, I was going to make 50,000 and now this is reducing me to 20, that's not what happens. You get the larger number, you get the 50. Okay, I see there's a couple questions rolling in. One pay period, thank you, Kristen, for that clarification. Kristen is just noting 1 pay period equals 2 weeks, thank you. George Lardy asks, will the current union contract that was signed in September 2020 be honored for Visib? I'm going to ask if you could clarify that. So this is a side letter that is in addition to our 2020 contract. So our 2020 contract continues and will continue through 2024, and all provisions of that contract are active. I'm not sure if that answers your question, George, or if you could clarify that, please, for me. VJ, what's the definition of base salary? Does that include work out of class money? That's an excellent question. It does not. No differentials are included in your base salary. So what we're talking about when we talk about base salary, you can see this here, is you can go to the website and you can look at your code, Chief Radiation Therapist, and it will say what your base salary is here. So if you're paid a night differential, if you're paid a work out of class, if you have on-call pay, none of that is included in your base salary. What you do is go to the website, and actually I'll provide it right here in a moment. Let me put that down as things I need to do when I stop screen share, is I'll give you that website where you can go and look at what your base salary is. It's very easy. You just put in your title. Okay, let's see. Does that include? No. Okay, Martha asks, 6 pay period based on base wage at the time of separation. That's correct. It's based on the time of separation. So theoretically, let's say you get promoted this week and then you choose to separate, it's based on your salary at the time of separation. Will the lump sum be paid on a separate check or combined with final payoff check? I believe that it is a separate check that would be separate from your balance payoffs, but I'm not certain about that. Are there reasons why? Yes, I'll get to that in a moment. Oh, I guess I can answer it now. CD, who I'm not sure who that is, asks, are there reasons why 3/7 was selected as the last day to separate? Yes, it was. Yes, because the county is using savings for the remainder of the year to finance, of this fiscal year, to finance the separation payment. Martha, I believe, I don't know the answer to that. Martha asks, is the lump sum non-PERSable? Yes, it is non-PERSable. Because it is non-PERSable, you should not be paying PERS fees on it. You are still responsible for all tax liability. But because it's not PERSable income, what does that mean? A lot of people on the call will know what PERSable income is. The lump sum that's paid to you does not boost your pension retirement formula. So you should not be paying PERS on it. Thanks, Zeb. VJ reiterates, sounds like base salary doesn't tie to employee's current step. It is based on your current step. So again, I realize it's going to be hard to view this, but when you go to your thing, you're going to see, here's step 1. I don't know if you can even read this. Step 1, 2, 3, etc. So your base salary is, for an EPIC report writer, it's this, and then whatever step you are, that is counted in your base salary. Step is included in your base salary. No other differentials are. Steps are not considered a differential. If you're a broad range classification, which will apply to probably 10% of people in the unit, it's whatever your salary is at the time of separation. Broad ranges aren't steps. If you have questions about that, I can handle your questions separately. Okay, I'm going to continue here. Applicable to coded employees only. Unclassified, provisional, original probationary, extra help, and contractors are excluded. Coded employees. So really, this is a technical way of saying that you have passed probation. Okay? If you have passed your original probation, you're eligible for this program. If you joined the county, somehow got hired in the last 3 months, you would be on your original probation. You're not eligible for this program. If you're a classified, et cetera, also you would not be. Here's a key that I want to just remind everyone of. Provisional. Several people on this call and in the unit, many on the unit, are provisional. However, they have an underlying permanent status. So what does that mean? Pretend I'm a management analyst. I've been a management analyst for 5 years. There was a provisional opening, meaning temporary until a recruitment is done, for a senior management analyst. And I take the provisional code. I am still eligible for this program because I have an underlying classification of management analyst that I'm permanent in. So even though I'm temporarily in a provisional code, I'm eligible for this program. Conversely, if I came in from the outside as a provisional code and I have no permanent underlying status in the county, I'm not eligible for this program because I'm here for just a short time. Okay, full or part-time work. Oh, I see a couple more questions came in. CD asks, are there lessons learned from the recently completed courts Visib? Boy, that's an interesting question. Yes, I can share some information or any questions specifically you have. Broadly, I would say the court program was very successful. It was a unit of 120 CEMA folks over there. 18 took advantage of the separation program, 18. So that's a lot. I anticipate fewer than that in the county will for a variety of reasons. One, that the county has more money and is facing less immediate layoffs. Two, we were anticipating a low teen participation and saw a high teen. So that was interesting that so many people took advantage of it. What we saw is the bulk of people who were taking advantage were either close to retirement and this pushed them over the edge, or they had individual circumstances like a side business or outside employment that they could ramp up and offset losing this income. So those seem to be the three groups of people that really were taking advantage of it. So hopefully that's helpful. Ton Lee asks, is my current based hourly rate shown on my paycheck considered my base salary hourly rate? Yes, it is. However, you know what? I'm gonna just share this now. Give me 1 second so people can refer to this. I realize it's probably a bad presentation technique because now people will be looking at this rather than paying attention to what I'm saying. But I'm going to share the link so where you all can look at what you are right now. There we go. And I'm going to move the share over. Give me 1 second here. So here's the website that I just put you to, because I'm going to use Management Analyst as our go-to example. The reason being that it exists in almost every department, and most folks know what a management analyst is. Okay, so here's where you can look at what your base salary is, right here. So this is your hourly, biweekly, monthly, annually. Now, what you need to do is figure out where you are based on your step, but that is considered your base salary. So you could go ahead and look at that, and then you'd have to also look at your payroll, unless you just know you've been working that code for 10 years and you're the max step, in which case you're going to be the highest number. If you know you just started, you know you're going to be the lowest, and you don't need to do any more research. But hopefully that's helpful for some people. Okay. Let me see if any more questions came in. George Larty asks, if the department cannot afford to have the position deleted, will the employee application be denied? Excellent question. Most likely, yes. However, it's our understanding, and this was not negotiated, so this is our understanding, the county is not under obligation to do this, that Office of Budget Analysis, in conjunction with the CEO's office, will be making the assessments of whether or not a department can afford to be without a position. So just because the department will be consulted according to what the county has said, but probably at a director level. And I think it's really in the interest of the county to approve as many of these as possible. Okay. Full or part-time, let me make sure I'm sharing this. I hope it's displaying on my screen that I am. Someone tell me if I'm not. Full or part-time. This will apply to a minority of our folks, but we wanted to, thank you, Mary Beth. We wanted to make sure that our part-time folks were fairly treated in this agreement. And this is language that we have. I don't believe other unions have this language, but if they do, they mirrored us. So folks that are working at part-time, this is particularly relevant for anyone that's at the hospital. You will have a 0.5, 0.6, 0.8 codes are relatively common. What this does is this guarantees participation, and it sets a 6 pay period kind of snapshot in time. If you've been working full-time for the past 6 pay periods, your payout would be at 100%. If you've in fact been working at whatever your point code is, let's pretend it's 0.5, then you'd receive half the benefit to scale with the history of your position. All right, Section 4, you must irrevocably commit in writing to VSIP by December 1. I realize that's a quick turnaround. You all have been aware of this agreement for about 6 weeks, but now we're down to less than a month, right, that you have to consider it. Using the form provided, we provided a link in the last e-blast where we talked about the VSIP, which you can go to. The county has also communicated with you all. Should the VSIP approved applicant be promoted prior to leaving county employment, a one-time opportunity to cancel the VSIP shall be offered to the VSIP applicant prior to separation from county employment and payment of the VSIP. This is also something that we were able to negotiate at the last moment. It's going to be a small set of people, but there will be some folks that have been waiting a long time to hear back from a promotion. Maybe they're frustrated by not hearing back. They're making a decision to leave, take the VSIP. Then at the last moment, they're told, guess what? You got that big promotion you've been applying for. You will have an opportunity to withdraw your VSIP application if that circumstance applies to you, because the circumstances of your decision have changed, right? Going to be a real corner case, but it'll apply to a few folks that will apply, and we wanted to get that protection for you. After December 1, 2020, the county will review applications and render a decision to approve or deny the applications. If only one applicant, okay, so let me stop there. We've been told that the county will make final decisions by December 14th. This document does not obligate them to do that. This document obligates them to do that by December 31st. But it is their goal to get that out to everybody by December 14th. Not enforceable in terms of this contract, but just want to let everybody know that that's our anticipated time. And you'll see later on in the agreement about what notifications they owe us concretely in January, but that we would like to get earlier if possible. This is additional language that we negotiated. If only one application can be approved in a unit with multiple CEMA represented applicants, the most senior applicant based on days of service, days of accrued service in county as stated on their paycheck will be approved. So in our example of the management analyst, say there are 3 management analysts putting in. OBA looks and says, wow, the department only has 3 management analysts. I don't think we can approve all 3. We can approve 2. The 2 most senior management analysts would be approved and the least senior would be denied. So that way there's not a plain favorites kind of situation with regards to multiple applications. There is the ability, in the worst case scenario, I'm not suggesting that this would happen, but there is the ability to play favorites if seniority is not a tiebreaker, right? So if you're looking at 2 codes that maybe do overlapping duties, take a program manager and an ASM. there would be some ability to say, I can keep the ASM, I want to lose the PM, I can keep the PM, I want to lose the ASM. That would be outside of union audit, if you would. I'm not seeing any additional questions at the moment, but let me just double check on that. Yep, I'm not. Okay. Okay, must separate from the county. Oh,
I just put a question in the chat, and I think there's two others there as well.
oh, there we go. Yeah, I do see it. Thank you for alerting me, Patrick. Let me go back and look at that. Okay, CD notes. According to the county site, employees will be notified in December whether their VSIP applications are accepted, but the county will provide the list to CEMA in January. Why the two separate dates? Yep. So I don't know if I just answered that question. Maybe I did. It's because the county doesn't want to be obligated to a timeline that they may not be able to fulfill. So they have to finish everything by January, notify us in early January, notify the employees in late December. But if they don't, then they're obligated by January. Their goal is to do it in December. I hope that answers that. Martha asks, if the county has until 12/31 to make the decision, how does this impact those with a 12/20, 12/31 retirement date? Sure. So those that want to retire right away would be prioritized first for the county to review. And we're also anticipating, as I mentioned, a response from the county by 12/14, although that's not required. Patrick Deely asks, what constitutes a unit? We're looking at it as a department. The county may argue differently as to what constitutes a unit, but I'm looking at it as a department. Will the county's decision be made after all applications have been received, i.e. after December 1st? Yes. So we had originally, this is a little bit of bargaining history. And again, Mary, but anyone who was on the call who was involved in bargaining, feel free to jump in at any time. We had originally proposed several kind of like batches, if you will. So people could put in 1 2-week period, then in another 2-week period, another 2-week period, and the county would approve in 2-week intervals. Ultimately, the county said, no, that's too burdensome for us to administer. Have everyone put in prior to a particular date, review it, approve, and we're done. There's not this staggered batch approach. C. Wilson asks, if I am going to retire at the end of December, whether I am approved for VSIP or not, does that jeopardize approval? If they see I'm retiring anyway, will they deny? It's an interesting question. Frankly, I don't know the answer to that. It's not spoken to in the agreement. I would say that just don't reveal that you're planning on retiring regardless. Apply for VSIP and hold in your back pocket until after the 14th what's going to happen. That would be my recommendation. Elizabeth Constantine, I think that's Constantino, asks, oh, someone just texted me a question. Whoever just texted me a question on my cell, could you please put it in chat if you haven't? Elizabeth Constantino asks, if I request 12/30/2020 early retirement date and I don't find out if I'm approved for VSIP until 12/20, how will ESA handle the retirement conference they will host between 12/20 at the end of the year? I do not know, Elizabeth. The retirement conference that the county does, for people who are unaware, whenever an employee decides to retire, they have a meeting, a conference, if you will, with ESA to discuss post-employment benefits, make selections, and so on, work through the paperwork. And that's a somewhat individualized process that the county administers. I do not know the answer to if they would change that process on the basis of this, Elizabeth. I apologize, I don't know that. HHS, for those that have a generic name, could you please change your name? You can right-click on yourself and put your actual name so we know who it's coming from. Thank you. HHS asks, what is the definition of department? Is TSS a department, or is each department under TSS a department? So a department is an accepted term that is the entire functional unit. Usually a department bureau, a department applies to the whole unit. and that usually is comprised of several budget units. So for example, TSS is a department that it's comprised of many budget units. SSA is technically it's an agency, but it's a department that is comprised of many bureaus, which in turn have budget units. If an employee's VSIP application is accepted, CD asks, if an employee's VSIP application is accepted, the county asks that the employee sign a legal release form. What the form covers only legal release for VSIP or any legal action? It's any legal action. So if it's a good question, it's a release clause. For those of you that have seen the VSIP form, it's a release clause, and you waive all rights to sue the county for whatever it might be, discrimination, employment-related things. If you are an individual that has ongoing litigation with the county for whatever reason, you really need to be comfortable waiving that if you want to take advantage of VSIP. I would recommend that you not, if you have pending litigation or claims with the county. There are a lot of questions coming in, so I'm going to review these, go through them, because I want to answer your questions. Just as a reminder, though, we do want to finish the rest of the document. Okay. Andrew Nguyen asks, for individuals looking to retire before 12/31 and applying for VSIP, is it recommended to apply for Calpers when VSIP application is submitted to the county, or wait for VSIP to be approved? So this is a personal recommendation, and I will explain why it's personal. Anything that I mention in today's meeting that has to do with Calpers, please go and talk to Calpers yourself. I would characterize myself as knowledgeable about Calpers, but I am not a Calpers administrator, and I'm not an expert on Calpers. So why I'm making the recommendation that you apply with Calpers immediately is that Calpers has announced that there's a 30 to 45 day delay right now in processing retirements. So you probably want to give them a heads up now so you can begin that process. And you can always cancel it, right? But you want to begin that process and consult with Calpers. Thank you for that question. And thank you to everybody for these questions. These are really excellent questions. Rebecca Flores asks, I put a leave date of March 5th. I am seeking employment outside the county. If my new job starts prior to March 5th, can I leave earlier? So in a typical retirement, the answer is yes. And the typical retirement flexibility should apply in this circumstance. So I see no reason why you couldn't move forward that retirement date. However, just so you know, that would likely harm you financially. Usually the more time you can get into the county, the better for your retirement purposes under normal circumstances. Anna Padilla asks, if the application does not get approved, can an employee rescind their retirement and continue to work? Absolutely. So if you put in for a VSIP and it's not approved, you're not obligated to retire. Similarly, some of you may know this. Also, we've had people who put in retirements and reject them. I actually attended 3 retirement parties for the same person. I think after the third, people just, they're like, yeah, right, you're retired. They stopped having parties at that point. So yeah, you can withdraw it. I want to be clear so that nobody misunderstands this. If you are rejected for VSIP, you can withdraw. If you irrevocably commit and they grant you and they want to pay you out, you can't say, I changed my mind. The only circumstance under which you can change your mind if you are approved is if you get a promotion, which we just went over. Linda Dietz asks, must you Calpers retire, i.e. start taking Calpers benefit at VSIP separation, or can you wait? You can wait. So VSIP is and it kind of says it in the name, but I realize it's a nuanced question. It's a separation incentive program. The county is just saying, see you later. Here's some money. Please go away, right? For lack of a better term. I'm sure the county, there's a more eloquent way of phrasing that. So you don't even need to be vested in Calpers. Somebody who's been here for 2 years could take advantage of this program, right? Someone who's been here for 20 years can take advantage of this program. Whatever you do with Calpers is separate from taking advantage of the VSIP program. You conceivably could, here's another iteration. You could take advantage of the VSIP program, walk down the street to another Calpers reciprocal agency and get another job. It's a tough time to get jobs at public employers, but get another job and continue building your Calpers, your retirement formula. That's also a possibility. Okay, Jane Chi, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. I apologize, Jane. Jane Chi, what if VSIP gets declined and you are later determined to be laid off? Is this possible? It is possible. It is possible that you would be denied for VSIP and then later removed, laid off. To me, it seems pretty unlikely because they're saying that you're an essential position, but it is possible. And we also don't know how poor or quickly the budgetary situation will deteriorate or improve. iPad 2, again, folks, please right click on your name so we can all understand who's asking the question. What are the chances of VSIP being offered again next year? I would say low, I think Mary Beth was the one who mentioned this. Administration is saying that the funds for this will be drying up. I think there's probably a low appetite on the part of the county to offer this again. I don't want to tell you it's impossible, but I think it's unlikely.
I think even Jeff Smith said it was very unlikely.
Thank you, Robin. That's true. And also for those that have been participating in our lobbying efforts with the board themselves, different board personalities have stated that as well, that they think that this is the best chance for them to encourage people to leave with a payment versus, the other kind of things we're more accustomed to, which is forced furloughs, which neither administration or the board really likes, or just layoffs, which is extremely unpalatable. Monica Smith asks, on the application for VSIP, you had to put a date of separation. Do you have to separate on that date or can you separate earlier? I believe we just answered that question. You should be able to advance your separation date if that's something you like, as you normally can in retirement talks. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I don't believe this would restrict that. This meaning this agreement. That's correct. You can share that with the group if you like, Mary Beth. But you want to point that out to the group, Mary Beth, what you privately said to me?
Yeah, just, there's a lot of talk around the PERS and all of how this interacts with PERS because it does, retiring does complicate it. But you could be retirement eligible, but decide to go to another PERS agency and work there and not retire out of the county. You could even be not retirement eligible. You could be 40 years old with 20 years in with the county, so you can't retire, but you could still do the VSIP.
That's correct. That's correct. Thank you for that. Okay, Joe Caruvia, I apologize if I messed up your last name. A follow-up question to Jane Chi. If VSIP is denied, can you then get laid off before March 7th? Yes, it is a theoretical possibility, but extremely, extremely unlikely. The reason being that we're seeing the budgetary cuts come before the board next week, Monday and Tuesday next week, followed by budget workshops the weeks after. And the cuts that are under discussion right now will be implemented in late February, early to mid-March. So it's very unlikely that something would occur between now and March, and then the board would take further cut action. Again, theoretically possible, but extremely unlikely. And we'd be howling about that. If someone was told, no, you can't take advantage of the voluntary program, and then 3 weeks later, it's like, by the way, we're cutting your position, that would just be outrageous. Could it happen? Theoretically, yes, it's possible. Maria asks, so you can't write out any vacation at all. You would just get paid a lump sum of vacation left at separation. I'm going to interpret this, Maria, as being as you asking, can I take a lot of time off prior to separation? Sometimes people do this. Let's say you've got, whatever, months of vacation on the books, and they're like, oh, okay, I'm planning on leaving on February 1. I'd just like to take 2 months off. December and February, I want to take off. You could still do that, or February 28th in that circumstance. You could still do that. There's nothing that prohibits you from taking vacation as part of this agreement. However, as you all know, taking vacation, or STO as we call it, is contingent upon management approval, right? So people who do that, who take the last couple of months of employment off, they do have to get approval for that time. This would still allow you to do that. There's nothing prohibiting it. VJ, can someone approved for VSIP work for the county in the future as an example for extra help? Yes. What you are waiving, and we'll get to this portion, what you are waiving is your ability to be on a reemployment list. But if for some reason you were able to be recruited again in an extra help capacity, that is possible. Monica Smith asks to everyone, if an employee is on medical leave, can they still be eligible for VSIP? Yes. You're an employee, as long as you're paid, you're still in a coded position, you would be able to be eligible for VSIP, just as you would be able to be eligible for retirement. Whoa, we just got some new questions. Noel Panilio, sorry, just for clarification, you can put 3/7/21 Sunday as the separation date in the VSIP form, correct? That is correct. That's the last day that you can put, March 7th. Barbara Herlihy asks, would an employee have to be adversely affected by having their application denied because their department doesn't want to lose the position? Oh, sorry. Why would an employee have to be adversely affected? Oh, I see. So I think what you're asking, Barbara, is, and please clarify the question if I misstate it. Why do you have to pay the price for the fact that your position is irreplaceable? I think that's what you're asking. It's a different threshold.
That's
Sorry,
that's exactly what I was wondering.
Okay, thank you for that clarification, Barbara. So it's not that the department would be adversely impacted, it's that the department can't replace you. So what OBA is going to be looking at is, if this person leaves, can the department survive without that classification? If the answer is yes, then they ought to be approving it. If the answer is no, then they can't. So the folks that are going to be disadvantaged are where you are a one-of code, or you're providing services that would immediately require the county to replace you. I'll give you a very clear example. And this is going to be unfortunate for anyone who's on the call that is from county communications. A county they're already running at a 40% deficit, right? They've maybe not 40, maybe it's 30%. 30%, they have vacancies. If a supervising dispatcher who we represent were to retire, take advantage of VSIP, like that, the county has to replace them. So there's very limited savings for the county in that, or possibly no savings. They would pay that person tens of thousands of dollars. They'd immediately have to promote from within because they can't afford to be without that position. So really, it's whether the county can accommodate not having that position. It's not, would it inconvenience the department? It's, is the department forced to immediately backfill that position? I hope that answers your question, Barbara. Sorry, go ahead. I'm hearing
applications to approve.
Sorry, go ahead. I'm getting really broken audio. I don't know if anyone else is. I'm just getting some. If you could type out your clarification, that would be helpful. I'm not sure what's going on with the connection.
I think we're all getting it, Zeb.
Okay, thank you. Please type your follow-up question, Barbara. There's something wrong with the audio input there. Anna Padilla asks, if someone is out on disciplinary paid leave, can they still? Yes, absolutely. You can still apply for VSIP if you're out on disciplinary paid leave. I'm assuming you mean admin leave, administrative leave. You can still apply. Linda Dietz asks, are all positions held by someone who takes VSIP deleted after the person's VSIPs? Not necessarily, and there is a specific component of the contract language that I'll refer to, so we can refer back to that. But not necessarily. In all likelihood, yes. On the email, on the phone/Zoom call with Dr. Smith, it might have been a Teams meeting. I'm not sure what it was. He said in 99% of cases that would be the situation, that they would delete the position. I don't know if 99% is accurate. I would say 90% of cases, but we'll see what happens. So not necessary to be deleted. Monica Smith asks, how will the county inform you you have been approved for VSIP? They will individually inform you, and they will also inform the relevant bargaining unit. So if it's a CEMA code, CEMA gets informed. If it's a VP Valley Physicians Group, I don't think any of them will be approved. VPG, they would be informed. If it's CSCIU, they would be informed, et cetera. Elizabeth Constantino asks, is there any possibility that VSIP applications will be approved prior to 12/14? There is. I think it's unlikely, but it's possible. Possible, but unlikely. There's no prohibition against it. They could theoretically approve it December 1, right? Noel Pinillo, it's Pen Lily. Noel asks, in the VSIP release and waiver of claims, there is a section of waiver of right to reemployment. Is this also true for those retiring? Yes. If you retire, you're not eligible you don't get put on the reemployment list. The reemployment, and this again also is spoken to later in this agreement, the reemployment list, and I know this is going to be news to a lot of folks. The reemployment list is spoken to in our layoff contract or layoff portion of our contract. And what it's designed for is that you can be reemployed with the county if you have been laid off or terminated. Not terminated, not for cause, right? If you're terminated for cause, you don't get to come back and say, give me my job back. So let me explain very briefly what this is designed to encompass. Same management analyst. I'm a management analyst working along for the county, been here for 3 years. I'm not a very senior management analyst. County lays me off and I go out the door. I can't claim any other positions. Okay. I'm put on a reemployment list for 2 years. So what does that mean? It means that if within these 2 years, the county hires a management analyst back, prior to them interviewing anybody, if I was the only management analyst that went out the door, I get that first position that the county is hiring for. I'm on the reemployment list. If you retire from the county, you're not on a reemployment list. The county's not going to call you every time they hire your old code and say, do you want to come back? So hopefully that clarifies that question for you guys.
Zeb, this is Donna.
Yes.
My understanding was also you cannot reinstate. You can't decide 6 months from now, hey, I changed my mind, I want to reinstate.
That's correct.
Yes.
That is also correct. Thank you for that clarification.
And Zeb,
yes,
people can get a job, but they have to apply for it, just like anybody else that's coming into the county. They're not going to get, like you said, they're not. If there's an opening, they're not going to automatically get it. That's
also correct. And those are excellent clarifications. Donna joined us a few moments late, just so everybody knows. Donna, can you introduce yourself? The other folks that are on the bargaining team introduce themselves.
Hi, it's Donna Mensmer. I'm the executive board secretary for CEMA, and I work at Roads and Airports.
Thank you. And so, yeah, those are really important clarifications that both of them made, that you are still able to get not reemployed, because it's going to confuse us with the reemployment list. You are, as Robin pointed out, you're allowed to apply for vacancies and perhaps get rehired. Very unlikely, but possible. And as Donna pointed out, or somebody pointed out earlier, you could apply for an extra help position as well, if that was something that interested you for whatever reason. Okay, I'm going to return to the agreement here. Let me see. what we're looking at for, some more questions have come in, but I do want to go, I'm going to stop at Noel's question, and I'm going to go through a few items here, and then I'll return to the question. So I'm stopping at Ms. Vasquez. Okay, I'm still displaying my screen. I think we got through here, through item 5. Scrolling up a little bit. Item 6. Single position classifications would be excluded unless the position is proposed for deletion. So there have been a lot of questions that have been coming in about this item. What does single position classifications mean? It doesn't mean you're the only position in your unit or department. Go back to the management analyst example. I'm the only management analyst in roads. This doesn't mean that you would be excluded. What it means is you're a one of classification. So if I am the, let's say I'm the only chief dispatcher. Well, we already talked about 911 county cop. I'm a classification that there is only one of. I exist only in Valley Health Plan. Let's say I'm the only code. I'm the VHP administrator. I don't think that's a real code. I'm making that up. But I'm a one of code that applies to you. This language applies to you unless the position can be deleted. If there are 20 VHP administrators spread throughout the county, but you're the only one at VHP, it wouldn't apply to you. So that's what this language is designed to encompass. 7, it is the intent of the county that the resulting vacant position would generally be proposed for deletion. So this is what we were just talking about. Generally, the idea is that the position would be deleted. That's where the county's getting the savings from. That's why they're paying the money to shed the folks. And that's what benefits the whole unit, is ongoing salary savings. There's a modest salary savings if you delete a step 5 position, replace it with a step 1 position, delete a classic employee, replace them with a PEPRA employee. There's a modest salary savings, but the county's looking to really make up that $300 million. They're not looking for just slight variations. So it still can happen even if they don't delete the position, but almost all of them, the position will get deleted. 8, the county will evaluate requests and approve based on county needs. This, of course, is a given. The county put this in to reiterate that the county gets to determine it. It's not Zeb really super duper wants to retire, and that's what the need is going to be. The county is reserving the right to approve or deny. Anybody always retains the right to retire. It is, of course, right? It's whether or not you're going to get paid for it. VSIP employee applicants shall have the option to defer funds to the county 457 plan. That's more commonly known as the deferred comp plan, to the maximum allowed for the year. You can elect to defer up to 100% of your VSIP payment, provided it does not exceed the annual maximums allowable by law. This is different if you're taking advantage of the catch-up program. You really have to talk to HR to plan this out. Participants need to elect to make the change of their deferral in the month prior to the month of the deferral change will occur. For example, if the employee wants a new deferral rate to occur the first paycheck in January, the employee needs to make this election no later than December 31st. And we've actually been informed informally that there is a backlog on this as well. So if there's if you know that you want to make this change, you should make the change now. Or you should talk to them first and then determine whether to make the change. That's just advice. It's not contract interpretation. 10, participants are solely responsible for any federal, state, or local income tax implications that participation in VSIP may have upon their specific tax liability. County's way of saying, we're giving you this lump sum. That's what we're giving you, the lump sum. We're not giving you a lump sum after tax benefit. It's pre-tax. You're responsible for paying it. Participating employees would waive any reinstatement rights under the county's merit system rules, any union contract or otherwise. This is why you're seeing in the actual VSIP agreement that you're not on a reemployment list. If they hire again in a year or two for your position, you don't get rehired, as we were just covering. The county shall provide CEMA in January 2021 a list of all union members who applied, unit members, excuse me, who applied for the VSIP incentive, whether they qualified or not, date of effective separation, along with name, classification, date of hire, department approval status, and the type of separation. This is also something we negotiated that was extra. We really want to be able to do an examination of where people were able to participate and where they were not. Pardon me, I'm trying to find a, okay. Excuse me. Where they were able to participate and not. And then also this is our backup audit to make sure that components of the contract, of this agreement rather, were enforced. The county's decision to accept or reject applications for participation in VSIP is not grievable, except where terms of this side letter were not followed. So this goes back to the seniority piece. It goes back to the administration piece of this agreement, that if the county violates that, then there's a grievance. If we disagree with the county approval of somebody, it's not a grievable matter. But if, for example, those 2 management analysts put in and the county approves the less senior management analyst, then that's a violation of this agreement and would be grievable. Side letter expires March 21, 2021. So this is stating for the county that this is a limited time program. The intent is not for this to persist for the duration, say for the duration of the budget crisis or whatever. This is a one-time offering. You have to participate, make the election, as we mentioned, prior to December 1st, and then you determine where you go from there and whether you get the payout or not. Okay, I am going back to the questions. And we just have a few moments left, but I think I can stay a little bit longer if other people can as well. Okay, Miss Vasquez, Angela Vasquez asks, oops, just a new question came in. I don't suppose we know which positions are to be eliminated. So I'm going to interpret that as a question about the layoffs. I think that's what this is about. We have a sense of what the positions are that will be eliminated. We see what's going to the board for consideration. That's been posted on the website, the county website, and the board is reviewing OBA's and the CEO's recommendations to Monday and Tuesday of next week, and then budget workshops are the following week. And we're already lobbying on some of the items that we've been given advance notice on. Not all of them we have. So you can look at those and get a clue as to where the cuts are coming. Right now, the concrete eliminations of filled positions, we know that there are 5 in the CEO's office and 4 in the assessor's office, and those we're moving to address. There are many vacant positions that are being deleted as well. You're welcome. No. Martha asks, I missed the answer to who approved VSIP applications. Oh, okay. I'll repeat this for everybody. We've been told that Office of Budget Analysis, in conjunction with the CEO's office, will be making the determinations with, I would characterize it as minimal input from the departments. So they're saying that they'll say, yeah, you can afford to be without a management analyst. You can afford to be without this. And then the department I'm imagining a director level would get to weigh in on a couple of codes, but I don't think the departmental participation is going to be that robust. It's not part of this agreement. If that ends up not being the case, and like a director is sitting by and discussing in depth everyone in their department, it's not a violation of this agreement. That's just what we've been told is how the county will administer it. So I want to make that point clear. Raji B, I think this is Raji Baines, asks, are departments given a reduction number? In other words, you need to let X amount of people go or reduce expenditures by X amount. Yes, that has been, those targets have been given to the departments. They were posted to the Board of Supervisors, so you can review minutes and see that. Those reduction numbers were sent to the department. Here's what you don't see, and why the reduction numbers are not necessarily that useful. Reduction numbers were given to different departments. Departments offered up a certain amount of cuts, and those were accepted or rejected. So you might have been given cut 50 positions and you cut 30, and then OBA said, that's okay. We're okay with that level of cuts. So hopefully that answers that question. VJ asks, sorry, it's a related question. While the budget doesn't look good for the next 5 years, why does the county keep posting new positions? Should county hold off on that? That's a good question. So there are departments that still have vacant funded positions that they need to hire for. Many departments are cutting vacant funded positions, right? Which is typically preferential to filled funded positions, right? Which means you got to shuffle people around. But there's still a need for certain classifications. TSS is still hiring. I'll go back to that example of county comm. They always are running a deficit of 20 to 30% of their staff, in some cases 40% in years past. It's around high 20s, I think, right now. So they're always going to be posting dispatcher positions. They always need them, whether there's a budget crisis or not. So that on a case-by-case basis, that would be happening. There's an exemption review committee, they're calling it XREC, that is looking at each position that's being posted and determining whether it's correct or not. Person is asking, will this meeting be available later? They mistakenly thought it was starting at 12. Yes, I'm recording this meeting. It's been recorded from the beginning, and it will be posted to YouTube for the viewing of everybody. We are at 12 o'clock now, so I'm going to try to finish the questions and then open it once more for general questions. I appreciate people's willingness and ability to stay a little bit later. And I think we capped out at 180 people. We're losing a few folks because we're hitting our time right now. Michelle asks, Zeb, do you know approximately how many people they anticipate to take advantage of this offer? I don't. I heard informally from labor relations, they thought 1% of county employees would apply. I know they've had 120 people apply already through all units that are eligible. I think 1% is way too low of an estimation. To the earlier question we had at the top of the hour or the beginning of 11, where someone said, what can we learn from the court? At the court, the participation rate was about 15%. I don't think we'll see as high of a participation rate in the county, but I think that a fair estimate might be 5% of CEMA employees might participate for various reasons. So I don't know. That's just a gross estimate. I think 1% is too low, though. Christine Gibbons asks, do you feel that most non-essential positions will be approved? I do. I think there's a very strong interest to reduce headcount, and every opportunity that the county can, I think they'll be taking advantage of it. For number 12, will the requirement explicitly state the reason for denial? I would suspect not. It's not I mean, it could be like a position is essential or something like that. It's not going to say a position is essential because of the legislative requirement that one of these positions be available at all times, and the critical leadership role. I don't think that it will get into that level of granularity of detail. Angela Vasquez, thank you. And yes, okay, thank you for your clarification there. Clarabelle Balance asks, if the VSIP's release and waiver of claims, item number 1 indicates voluntary resignation, would you also sign this if you plan to retire? Yes, you are, as your retiree, you are allowed to retire and resign simultaneously. Don't characterize it as retirement in all of your communications. I am retiring from the county. Don't tell your boss, I'm trying to resign, right? That's another thing. We haven't covered this so far. We've mistakenly had some people declare that they as a manager or director or departmental head want to be informed or have all VSIPs go through them. Do not do that if you're a CEMA person. Do not require other CEMAs or direct reports to do that. If you are being required to do that, you are not. You can apply without CCing your boss, without getting approval from your boss. So please don't do that if you're a CEMA person supervising anybody else. And if you are a CEMA person applying, You should not be asked to do that. Okay, Monica Smith asks, if you are of retirement age and you get approved for VSIP, are you eligible retirement medical coverage? Let me reread that. If you are, I'm going to add words here. If you are of retirement age and you get approved for VSIP, are you eligible for retirement medical coverage? Yes. So this agreement does not interfere with any of the other normal retirement abilities. So what Monica is referring to is what we often call retirement medical coverage. If you are of age to participate in that and you are vested, you can retire from the county and get that medical coverage. So that's a key point. Good. And I want everyone to be very, very clear on this. If you are not of retirement age and you take advantage of the VSIP program, you are not able to participate in the retiree medical benefit, even if you have vested, right? So let's say I've worked here for 10 years. I've vested because of the 10 years that I worked here. I think now it's up to 15, but I worked earlier. And now I retire, I leave the county at age 45 and get the payout. I have not officially retired from the county, so I don't get that medical benefit. It's unaffected from this program. That would also occur if you just left without participating in VSIP. So you really want to pay attention to that.
Can we tell Supriya that his camera is on? We can see everything he's doing.
Okay. I don't know what he's doing, but
thank you.
Yeah, please shut off your camera if you don't want us to be seeing what you're doing. It's a good advice for everybody. Okay, Jane Chi, yes, I can't send it out right now. Can someone help me and research this while I'm answering the rest of the questions? It's posted on the Board of Supervisors agenda. One of the people on the negotiation committee, can you get that link to answer Jane Chi's question? Laura Kalunga, sorry I was late. Can you clarify everyone who is approved for the VSIP, will their positions be deleted? This meeting will be posted so you can review that again, Laura. In brief, 90+% of cases, they will be deleted. It's not a complete requirement. Sandra, to everyone, how many positions is the county expected to avoid layoff? How many positions is county expected to avoid layoff? I'm sorry, Sandra, I don't understand that question. If you can repost that or unmute and re-ask that so I understand it. Lek is asking, would contact, I think you mean, would contact tracers be considered essential position and therefore won't be approved? No, it's your underlying classification. It's not your assignment. V Trang asks, would this VSIP offers to ACE employees who follow CEMA contract? No, it is not. This is a side letter that is negotiated with the county as an administrative convenience. The county applies our contract to confidential employees. I have no idea whether they are intending to do that with regards to this position. I haven't even asked the question. From my perspective, it's not a CEMA scope of representation, so I haven't asked the question. I am not familiar with them offering it to ACE, however. Yep, a good reminder. You can still retire even if your VSIP was denied, of course, right? You're just not getting that cash payment. Thank you for that reminder, Mary Beth. And I did not see, Sandra, if you restated your question. I just don't understand it. Does someone else understand that question? How many positions is county expected to avoid layoff?
This is Bill. The only reference I made in my head, it may not be the connection, is related to similarly to the court agreement, where enough VSIP, enough people took advantage of VSIP to mitigate the financial goals, the reduction goals, to eliminate the need for CEMA layoffs in courts. Maybe
Got
that's the direction it's going.
Okay, thank you for that, William, or Bill. I think you go by Bill. So there is no component of this where we are guaranteed layoff protection. So, for example, how the court contract was written was if we achieved a certain dollar savings through a variety of methods, furloughs, voluntary separation agreements like this, long-term leaves, voluntary reduced work hours, and there was one other, VRWH, thank you. Then we would be eligible for layoff protection. There is no component in this contract where we are shielded from layoff protection. We sought that at the bargaining table, and we found that there was little support from administration or the board on that. So we were unable to achieve that. So I think I understand that question now. There's no hard number. If 300 CEMA people participated, which would be a very large number, and were approved, we're not guaranteed layoff protection. If 10 people participate, we're not guaranteed layoff protection. The only thing that I could offer that would be informative, I think, on this is, as I mentioned, we're facing a $300 million budget shortfall, and that equates to approximately 1,600 to 1,800 positions. So that's what the county is looking to save. They're looking to save $300 million. So it would be somewhere in that neighborhood of classifications that they're hoping for people to voluntarily leave. Okay, thank you so much, Rebecca. I'm glad you pulled that up for us. So this is the board packet for the special meetings that are occurring Monday and Tuesday. It's at 1:30 is when these meetings are occurring. Okay, we are 15 minutes over. Joel Singer asks, any idea? Oh, sorry. VJ asks 300 million for this year. Yes, 300 million. There's a $300 million budget shortfall for this year that involves various ways that you can address it. Joel Singer asks, any idea how many positions have already been eliminated, or is this 1,600 to 1,800 more? This is 1,600 to 1,800 more. So, but they don't have to be filled positions. There are a lot of vacant funded positions that the county can delete, but they will be deleting funded positions as well. Not that many are being suggested for deletion in the documents that are being published here. And Donna is pointing out, based on average salaries, they would need about 1,800 to participate. That's right, 1,600 to 1,800, just depending on where they fall in the spectrum. Laura Kalunga, thank you, Zeb and CEMA Executive Board, of course, and thank you to the bargaining team too. We have people that helped on that were not on the executive board. Okay, well, we are drawing to a close here. Thank you for everyone willing to stay long. I think we had some great participation with 180 folks, and this will be posted to the YouTube page. I have a 12:15 call I have to hop on, but I'll start the uploading right away, and we'll push out a notice to members who are not able to join. Thank you all for your kind attention and well thought out questions. I really appreciate your patience and participation. And thank you to all the e-board members and negotiators that are on this call as well. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful afternoon and be healthy.
You too.
Thank you, Zeb.
Thank you. Of course. You're welcome.
You either